Why is Wall Street suddenly paying attention to Bitcoin's most controversial company? The answer might surprise you. Our guest, Jeff Walton, a reinsurance broker turned Bitcoin analyst, has been studying MicroStrategy's groundbreaking financial strategy since 2022, accurately predicting many of their moves that left traditional finance bewildered. In today's discussion, we'll examine three central points: MicroStrategy's unprecedented market position holding 2.5% of all Bitcoin, their innovative use of convertible notes that's attracting major institutional investors, and their sustainable leverage model that's reshaping corporate treasury management. Before we continue, if you enjoy these breakdowns, hit the like and subscribe button for more TFTC content. Full episode linked below. Their strategy isn't just about holding Bitcoin, it's about creating an entirely new playbook for corporate finance that nobody else can replicate. Let's dive into Jeff's explanation of why even the largest tech companies can't catch up to what MicroStrategy has built.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think their financial moat is enormous, right? I don't think there's any part of my thesis on why I think they're going to $1 trillion this year is I don't think there's any company that catches them or comes even close to catching them in terms of total Bitcoin holdings held on balance sheet. I think there's only 4 or 5 companies that have cash on hand to buy as much Bitcoin as they have right now, and they would have to start yesterday, right, in order to catch them. And it's basically the Mag 7, and they would have to completely change their entire business model in order to do that and convince their board. And so the only company that I think that could catch them is Meta, because Zuckerberg has more than 50% voting rights. So he could theoretically do that and put that much Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But even then, you'd have a social media company that holds Bitcoin as opposed to just a Bitcoin company.
Jeff is breaking down the cornerstone of MicroStrategy's competitive advantage in the Bitcoin market, and it's more significant than most people realize. They've accumulated roughly 2.5% of all Bitcoin that will ever exist. That's 1 out of every 40 Bitcoin in circulation. This scale creates what we call a financial moat, a competitive advantage that's nearly impossible for others to replicate. Even the world's largest tech companies, the ones we call the Magnificent Seven, would face enormous challenges trying to catch up. They'd need to completely restructure their business models, convince their boards to make a dramatic shift, and somehow accumulate Bitcoin in a market where MicroStrategy has already established dominance. The only company that might have the autonomy to attempt this would be Meta, and that's only because Mark Zuckerberg holds majority voting control. But even then, they'd just be a social media company holding Bitcoin, not a company that's fundamentally rebuilt itself around a Bitcoin strategy like MicroStrategy has. This unprecedented market position isn't just about the amount of Bitcoin they hold. It's about the expertise they've developed in navigating the intersection of corporate finance and Bitcoin treasury management. This first mover advantage has given them insights and capabilities that other companies are years away from developing. But the real genius of their strategy goes beyond just accumulating Bitcoin. It's about how they've structured their financial products to attract major institutional investors, which brings us to our next point.
Yeah, I mean, think about everybody that bought these convertible bonds from MicroStrategy, and they just outperformed the entire market by 10x, and then they outperformed Bitcoin and all this other stuff. That money is not going to leave this trade, right? Like when the debt is converted to equity, they're going to sign up for the next one. They're right back at the table. Like, let's do it again. And I don't think people really recognize that, right? Like as soon as this is converted, they're going to sign up and want to do that exact same trade, and let's run it back, right? We're going to do this again. Additionally, I think some of the convertible debt that they've issued so far has been private, unrated convertible debt on a company with negative earnings, technical negative earnings. And now, fast forward to a future where you've got FASB fair value accounting. And they could mark their Bitcoin to market. They've got positive earnings, potential to get the debt that they're providing rated, and they go tap public and private markets. I think their ability to raise capital in that debt market is going to increase substantially.
Now we're seeing how MicroStrategy has leveraged their market position to create something truly revolutionary in corporate finance. Jeff reveals a crucial aspect of their strategy that's often overlooked. They're not just buying Bitcoin, they're creating entirely new financial products that give traditional investors exposure to Bitcoin's upside while maintaining the appearance of conventional investments. These convertible bonds have performed exceptionally well, delivering returns that outpace both the broader market and Bitcoin itself by a factor of 10. This success has created a powerful feedback loop. Institutional investors aren't just making one-time investments. They're repeatedly participating in each new offering.
Everyone knows about Fold. It's the app where you can earn the most Bitcoin rewards for everyday purchases. Fold now lets you double stack rewards with gift cards. Use your credit or debit card to buy gift cards and earn both credit card rewards and sats. Fold gift cards help you grow your stack with every purchase. If you're not shopping with Fold gift cards, you're leaving sats on the table. Get a 20,000 sat welcome bonus. Go sign up now at foldapp.com/Marty.
What's particularly fascinating is that they've achieved all this while technically operating with negative earnings. With new accounting rules on the horizon allowing them to mark their Bitcoin to market value, their balance sheet is about to look very different to traditional investors and rating agencies. This could open up access to even larger pools of capital, further strengthening their position as the lowest risk option for institutional Bitcoin exposure. The innovation here isn't just in the products themselves, but in how they've created a new playbook for corporate Bitcoin adoption that they alone know how to execute effectively. While many are still trying to understand what MicroStrategy has built, they're already planning their next moves. But to truly appreciate why this strategy is sustainable for the long term, we need to look at the remarkable way they've structured their balance sheet to maintain healthy leverage ratios while continuing to accumulate Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's just getting started, in my opinion. I mean, there are so many things that can play out, and the macro landscape has a really big impact on what the future will look like. But if you just look at MicroStrategy's balance sheet, right, they've got, as of today, Bitcoin's at about 99,000. So the assets that MicroStrategy holds on their balance sheet is about 45 billion, and the amount of debt that they hold on the balance sheet is about 6.5 billion. Of that 6.5 billion, 3 billion is already in the money, effectively trading as equity, as long as the price of MicroStrategy doesn't fall below $225. So you can effectively think that the debt held on balance sheet is about 3.5 billion. So when you run that math, right, you've got 45 billion of assets and you've got 3 billion of liabilities. You're talking about a 7% leverage ratio with the ability to leverage up your balance sheet significantly while still being incredibly healthy and within historical kind of leverage ratios.
When you really dig into the numbers Jeff presents here, you start to understand why MicroStrategy's strategy isn't just innovative, it's sustainably engineered for long-term growth. Let's break this down in clear terms. They're holding approximately $45 billion worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet with only about $6.5 billion in debt. But here's where it gets interesting. $3 billion of that debt is already in the money, which means it's effectively functioning as equity as long as MicroStrategy's stock stays above $225. So in practical terms, they really only have about $3.5 billion in actual debt against $45 billion in assets. That's a leverage ratio of just 7%, which is remarkably conservative by any corporate standard. To put this in perspective, many large companies operate with leverage ratios of 80% or higher. This conservative approach to leverage creates a fascinating dynamic. When they take on new debt to acquire more Bitcoin, the very act of buying tends to increase Bitcoin's price, which in turn increases the value of their existing holdings. This means they can continue expanding their Bitcoin position while maintaining healthy leverage ratios. What's particularly brilliant about this structure is how it reinforces both their scale advantage and their attractiveness to institutional investors. They've essentially created a self-sustaining system that allows them to keep accumulating Bitcoin while maintaining the conservative financial metrics that traditional investors want to see. At 1031, we recognize this kind of financial innovation is crucial for Bitcoin's mainstream adoption. MicroStrategy has managed to thread a very difficult needle. They've created a structure that's aggressive enough to capture significant Bitcoin market share, yet conservative enough to satisfy traditional risk management requirements. This balance of ambition and prudence is what makes their moat not just wide, but increasingly difficult for others to cross. Will MicroStrategy's financial moat change how companies view Bitcoin forever? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you found this corporate financial strategy interesting, you'll want to watch our breakdown of how permanent capital removal is changing Bitcoin. Click the video on your screen now. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily content. Thanks for watching. Stay humble. Stack sats.